You're a burden. You can't stay after November bills. Her words didn't just echo around the Christmas table. They carved themselves into my chest. The silverware froze midair, the faint sparkle of ornaments blurred, and I swear the clock on the wall ticked louder, crueler. Hi everyone, my name is Clara, I'm 25, and that night my world cracked in a way no one could tape back together. Do you know the sound of silence when a room full of family suddenly agrees with someone else's cruelty? It's heavier than thunder. The ham sat untouched. The gravy steamed. My aunt kept her eyes down, my cousin sipped water too quickly, my brother cleared his throat like he wished he could vanish. No one defended me. Not one voice. Not even Dad, sitting at the far end twirling his wine glass like it held better company than his own daughter. I blinked at my mother's face, her lips tight with triumph, her tone sugar-poisoned as if she were doing me a favor. You can't stay here anymore, she said again, slower, savoring it. Not after November. Your bills aren't mine to carry. Instead I screamed. But outside I smiled, just a faint brittle curl of my lips. Because something inside me broke, and then hardened. I excused myself quietly, the scrape of my chair loud against the floor, and walked away from the scent of roasted chestnuts and peppermint candles. Upstairs I folded clothes into a duffel with hands that shook, not from fear, but from the slow burn of realization. They didn't want me. But if I left I would not leave them whole. I sat on the floor beside my bag, staring at my phone, staring at the glowing numbers in my banking app, staring at the bills. All those bills I'd covered for this house, this family, this roof. Gas, electric, internet. Mortgage top-ups when Dad forgot. Even Christmas lights twinkling outside, wired through an account with my name on it. That night, while they laughed over pie downstairs, I opened every account and cut them free. I severed autopays, cancelled standing orders, revoked access. One click after another, slicing invisible cords. When the final notification buzzed, payments cancelled, I exhaled for the first time in years. The next morning, December cold seeped under my door. And with it her fist. My mother pounding, voice shrill, neighbors peeking through curtains. She was screaming my name. But this time, she needed me. And I wasn't answering. Her fists didn't stop. Each knock rattled through the thin door of my rented apartment. Each scream carried the panic of a woman who had built her life on my quiet sacrifices. Clara, what did you do? The power's out. The heat's dead, it's Christmas morning. I stood barefoot on the cold floor, coffee steaming in my hands, my heart steady for the first time in years. I didn't move. I didn't answer. I only listened. For once, silence was my power. Behind the door, her voice cracked into something new, less venom, more desperation. We have guessed. Your cousins are freezing. Do you understand what you've done? Yes. I understood perfectly. I'd been the ghost provider, the invisible backbone, the one who took double shifts and funneled paychecks into bills that weren't mine. When Mom snapped her fingers, I paid. When Dad shrugged, I paid. When my brother wanted new sneakers, who quietly covered the electricity so the house stayed warm. Me. Always me. And now, with a single night of clicks, their castle crumbled. I pictured the scene. Lights flickering off mid-gathering, the oven shutting down half-baked turkey, the thermostat dropping degree by degree while my cousins wrapped themselves in coats. My mother, red-faced, scrambling with candles like some tragic play of her own making. I sipped coffee. Let her scream. Let the world see. Her voice softened into pleading. Claire, we can fix this. Just turn it back on. Please. The irony bit hard. The same woman who declared me a burden less than 12 hours ago, now begging for my help in front of neighbors. The same neighbors she used to brag to, about how independent, how strong, how flawless she was. I set my mug down, walked closer to the door and whispered, not loud enough for her to hear but enough for me to taste the freedom in it. No more. The banging stopped. Silence returned. I imagined her stepping back, stunned, choking on her own pride. And I smiled. Because for the first time the weight wasn't mine to carry. It was hers. The silence outside my door stretched long, but it wasn't peace. It was the pause before another storm. I leaned against the wall, arms folded, listening to the faint shuffle of her shoes on the hallway tiles. Then, like a stage actor shifting masks, her tone changed. Clara, honey, she cooed, voice dripping with fake sweetness. You've made your point. Don't punish everyone. You know your brother has asthma, the cold isn't good for him. My stomach tightened. Manipulation, her favorite weapon. Always dragging my brother, always making me the villain if I dared to say no. But I didn't move. Instead, I let her words sink into the thin wood between us, and for the first time, I realized how hollow they were. The truth was simple. Their comfort had been built on my silence. Their warmth had been paid for with my exhaustion. And now, stripped bare, the whole family could see who really held the foundation together. I pictured them shivering inside that decorated house. The Christmas tree twinkling but the sockets dead. Gifts piled under branches but the oven cold, the heater lifeless. All the sparkle, empty without the power I'd been supplying. And deep inside, a question bloomed. If they had to live without me even for one day, how long before their perfect picture shattered? He tried again, louder, angrier. Clara, open this door or I swear. The words broke, swallowed by her own rage. And then footsteps, hurried, fading. He was retreating. Not defeated, just regrouping. I breathed in the quiet, but my heart knew this wasn't the end. My family wasn't used to being denied. They would fight to pull me back into their grip, to force me into the role of savior once more. But I had already made a silent promise to myself on the floor last night. Never again. I glanced at my packed duffel, at the folded bills on the counter, at the bank notifications still glowing on my phone. I had the receipts. I had the truth. And soon, the world would see it too. Because revenge, I realized, doesn't always come in fire. Sometimes it comes in paper. By afternoon, the calls started. First from my brother, then my father, and finally a string of unknown numbers I didn't bother to answer. Each voicemail was a performance. Anger disguised as concern, desperation wrapped in entitlement. Clara, your mother is beside herself. Just fix this, okay? Don't ruin Christmas for everyone. Dad's voice slurred slightly, like the whiskey glass hadn't left his hand all day. I hit delete. Then my brother's shaky attempt. Look, you can't just cut the bills. That's messed up. Mom's furious. Just come home and talk it out. Delete. I scrolled through my phone, thumb hovering over the photos I had saved, screenshots of every payment I'd made for years. Gas, electric, mortgage top-ups, internet, groceries. My name, my card, my money. And alongside them, the text from my mother. Be a good daughter. It's your responsibility. Don't embarrass us by refusing. I had evidence. More than enough. And then, like fate aligning, I saw the community Facebook group open on my notifications. Neighbors already whispering about strange outages on Christmas morning at my parents' house. Comments piling, speculations flying. I almost laughed. The show had just begun. I drafted a post, short, sharp, undeniable. A collage of screenshots, bills, and bank receipts. Captioned with a single line. When your family calls you a burden while you've been paying their life in silence. I didn't tag names. I didn't need to. Everyone in town knew whose house was dark this Christmas. Everyone knew who my mother was. The woman who thrived on appearances, who paraded family values like medals. I pressed post. And just like that, the silence of my apartment filled with pings. Comments, shares, messages. Some shocked, some furious, some finally admitting what they'd seen all along. The mask was cracking. I sat back, phone warm in my hand, a strange calm washing over me. For years I'd been invisible, erased under their control. But tonight, their perfect facade had a fracture no light could hide. And soon, the whole town would watch it collapse. By evening, the storm had moved online. My post had spread faster than I imagined. Neighbors, old school friends, even people I barely remembered chimed in. Clara, I always wondered why you worked double shifts. Your mom used to brag about paying for everything. Guess not. This explains so much. Every notification was a match tossed onto the brittle structure my family had built. And then came the phone calls again, this time from my mother herself. Not anger now. Panic. Clara, take it down. Do you hear me? Delete it right now. You're embarrassing us. Do you want the whole town laughing at us? I almost pitied her. Almost. Her voice shook with something I'd never heard before. Fear. Not of me but of exposure. Of losing the control she wielded through polished lies and Christmas-perfect smiles. I let the phone ring until it clicked to voicemail, then pressed play. Her voice cracked. Please, Claire. We can talk. We can make this right. Just, don't ruin us. But hadn't they ruined me first? Years of grinding shifts, of going without so the house stayed warm, of swallowing every insult while quietly paying the bills that kept them shining in public. I looked out my apartment window, snow falling in soft curtains, the town glowing under Christmas lights, except their house now cold, dim, and heavy with whispers. For the first time they were living in the dark I'd been drowning in for years. And then came the message that sealed it. A neighbor DM'd me, "Your mom was at the grocery store begging for someone's generator. People are talking. She's humiliated." I leaned back, breath fogging the glass. Humiliation. The very thing she had weaponized against me at that dinner table. Now it was her turn. And yet, I knew her. She wouldn't surrender. Not easily. The woman who raised me in chains of shame would claw her way back. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Because now everyone else could see who she truly was. And I had only just started. The next morning I woke to another sound. This time not fists on my door but the buzzing of my phone. Dozens of messages. Screenshots. My post had gone viral beyond the town. Shared into groups, whispered in circles. People tagging each other, gossiping, laughing. The words "burden daughter," now paired with receipts that told a different story entirely. And then, one message stopped me cold. It was from my aunt. The quiet one at the table, the one who looked away when Mom humiliated me. Her text was short. "I'm sorry. I knew. I just didn't have the courage to speak. I'm proud of you." For the first time tears stung my eyes. Not from pain but from the strange relief of someone finally admitting the truth. But the storm outside my walls was only growing. By noon my mother showed up again. This time she didn't knock. She screamed from the street, her voice slicing through the winter air. "Clara, you're destroying us. Do you understand what you've done? People at church are calling me a fraud. They're saying we live off you." I stood behind the curtain, hidden, watching her. Her hair unbrushed, coat thrown over pajamas, her face blotched with panic. The perfect Christmas queen shattered. Neighbors peered out their windows. Some whispered. Some filmed. And still she raged. "Do you think this makes you strong? Making your own family look pathetic." I almost opened the window. Almost told her the words that clawed at my throat. "You did that yourself." But instead I stayed silent. Silence was sharper than any reply. She stomped back to her car, slamming the door so hard the echo carried down the block. I turned away, my apartment suddenly feeling lighter, bigger, freer. Because I realized something important in that moment. I didn't need to fight her. The world was already doing it for me. Her empire of lies was collapsing brick by brick under the weight of truth. And all I had to do was watch. By the third day the fallout had settled like ash. My parents' house sat dark on the corner street, a shadow among glowing neighbors. Word had spread that the utility companies demanded immediate repayment, and without my name on the accounts, they were locked out of every option. I scrolled through my phone, watching as the whispers turned into public judgment. "Imagine throwing out your own daughter while she was paying your bills. Always thought they were too perfect at church. Karma's fast this Christmas." And then the one that made me pause. A message from my younger cousin. "I used to think you were selfish because of how they spoke about you. I know better now. I'm sorry." My chest ached. Years of being painted as the problem, the burden, the ungrateful daughter, finally peeling away. Truth was finally louder than their lies. That evening a knock at my door came again. Not pounding this time. Softer. Desperate. "Clara, it's me." My father's voice, ragged, trembling. I didn't answer but I listened. "We can't fix the bills. People are cutting us off. Your mother, she's falling apart. Please, just help us get through this month. We'll pay you back." Pay me back. The words almost broke me into laughter. In 25 years not once had they offered repayment. Not once had they even acknowledged the weight I carried. And now, with their masks shattered, they thought promises could patch over decades of silence. I pressed my forehead to the door, speaking quietly so only I could hear. "No more." His footsteps faded, slow, defeated. For the first time I imagined him, not as the man who ignored me, but as someone forced to face the consequences of his own neglect. I sat back down, opening my laptop. Notifications still flooded in. Support, outrage, solidarity. And I knew. The final act was coming. Because revenge isn't just about watching them fall. It's about making sure the world never lets them stand the same way again. The week that followed felt like living in a mirror world. For years I had been invisible. My work hidden, my sacrifices unspoken. Now everywhere I turned people saw me. Not as the burden my mother labeled me, but as the daughter who had carried more than anyone knew. My parents, meanwhile, couldn't escape the weight of their own undoing. Church friends stopped calling. Dad's coworkers whispered behind his back. Mom, once the woman who lit up every holiday party with her flawless act, avoided leaving the house. Her empire of appearances had collapsed in broad daylight. And I didn't need to lift a single finger anymore. One evening I walked through the town square, lights twinkling above, families laughing around me. I realized something then. Revenge wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was simply the truth, raw, undeniable, laid bare for the world to witness. I didn't hate them. Not anymore. Hate had been heavy and I'd carried enough. What I felt instead was clarity. Freedom. Back in my apartment, I took one last look at the screenshots, the bills, the evidence that had once been chains on my shoulders. Then I created a folder on my computer and named it Proof. I didn't need to wave it around anymore. The damage was done. But I wanted to keep it not as a weapon but as a reminder. A reminder that I was never the burden. That night I sat by the window sipping tea, watching snow fall over the quiet town. And I whispered into the stillness words no one else needed to hear. You wanted me gone. So I left. No. I'm free. There was no screaming. No slammed doors. Just peace. Because in the end the cruelest revenge wasn't what I took from them. It was showing them I never needed them to survive.